If you could peel back the layers of the Earth, you would see a molten mass the size of Mars, and in the center of this is believed to be a spinning solid core composed of nickel and iron. Volcanic activity millions of years ago pushed heavy metals like gold, silver, nickel, copper, and iron to the surface. In order to prospect for gold, you must visit a location where gold deposits are situated. Australia is the world's largest island continent. Its generous gold fields produce some of the richest ore in the world, along with the largest concentrations of gold nuggets found on the planet. The state of New South Wales is where paleable gold was first recorded in Australia in 1851. Sydney is situated over a coal field, so prospectors need to travel over the mountains to reach the gold deposits. It is a beautiful cosmopolitan city with over 4 million residents. It is known the world over for its food, wine, culture, and breathtaking landmarks.
Now, a lot of locals don't even realize this, but you can eat breakfast in the city and then enjoy a lunch in the goldfields just 4 hours later. It's a great drive across the Blue Mountains to get there, and I often make a single day trip, although you'll see an awful lot more as well as spend more time on the ground detecting if you stay 1 or 2 nights in the region. The goldfields west of Sydney are quite large, although much of the area is privately leased, so permission should be sought to detect on private property. However, there's plenty of Crown land and state forest areas where the prospector may detect, and even the gold town of Hill End has a designated fossicking area set aside for the public, which can be panned and detected upon. Just remember to fill in any small holes and take any trash with you. You'll notice when you start to detect that there's an abundance of debris and signs left behind by earlier generations of prospectors. Sheets of corrugated iron like this are also a magnet for reptiles, and I like catching and photographing them because I can examine them a bit more closely to determine if there's any parasites in the area. I'm happy to say I haven't found any ticks yet, and the locals tell me that they're not too common in the region. All our reptiles and native animals in Australia are protected, so we always let them go immediately afterwards. If you're wondering why I'm taking my time with this lizard, I got bitten by one of these as a child, and I haven't forgotten the experience. Here's your shingleback lizard. They look like a pine cone, and you can't tell one end from the other.
To be honest, when we're out there we spend as much time playing with the Australian wildlife as we do looking for gold. I adore the roos, and Marco loves the lizards, but we both hate the flies. They hit plague proportions in late spring and summer, so come prepared. Oh, and don't forget to bring your camera. He's just gotta play with the spiders.
Whoa! Now this here is a mouse spider. It's about the size of a mouse. I think that's how it got its name. It's very similar to the Sydney funnelweb spider. It's related, and therefore you don't want to get bitten by one out in the goldfields. It's a little bit too far away for medical attention. Some of the animals and creatures and insects are quite beautiful. Now there's plenty of kangaroos out there. You'll have to watch out for them when you're driving at night. Lots of insects to keep you company. Plenty of reptiles, and save any tortoises you might see on the road. We've got freshwater crayfish and yabbies, and emus if you look in the long grass. Some beautiful beetles. Just don't be tempted to stick any of them in your mouth and you'll be fine. Even our scorpions are pretty harmless. Now, it's usually a good idea to detect with somebody else. Bring a partner with you for safety, to assist you if you end up in trouble. We usually bring some two-way radios too, so we can move out of line of sight, but still keep in touch. And there's a nice piece of gold that we found on a floodplain. Seems to have traveled quite a distance from where it originated. I found another interesting piece over here, just outside of the district of Orange. And these hand-dug shafts were completed in the 1870s. We found a really nice half-ounce piece just at the entrance to one of these mine shafts. They're not very deep, probably about 5 feet, but I probably wouldn't want to be walking around there at night. Hence, it's a good idea to bring a detecting partner with you. And when you clean them up, they're really quite beautiful pieces. Now, we found these smaller nuggets in the clay beneath the roots of an upturned tree just outside of Bathurst. That tree had been standing up until a recent storm for almost 200 years. We wanted a lightweight detector capable of handling the hottest soils for prospecting and even beaches, and we were also after a detector that could break down and fit into a backpack for convenience. Now, as you descend Mount Victoria en route to the plains where the goldfields lie, all this used to be underwater. This was called the Artesian Basin, and this was a shallow sea about 140 million years ago, and it's the source of many Australian opals and fossils and opalized fossils. But if you keep your eyes out, you'll find things like coral and some of the seashells that we find when we're out prospecting. Now, the goldfields themselves are generally associated with volcanic activity around 15 million years ago and more. These hills near Hill End are shown as they may have once appeared at the time when gold was pushed to the surface. Now, if you'd like to use the X-Terra 70 for detecting gold, you need to look at two different coils. They're both high frequency. There's the elliptical, which is the wider, and the smaller 6-inch. They're both double Ds as well. The double D is the shape of the wire that fits inside the coil, and that emits a fairly narrow emission blade. I've shown the primary emission blade in red, and the secondary, which is a softer field, in green. Notice that the elliptical coil can detect larger and medium-sized nuggets. The 6-inch coil will detect deeper and smaller pieces. But use the wrong coil for the wrong job, you might miss something. You need to move slow with the smaller coil, but it is waterproof. Now, the elliptical coil is best for scouring large areas or large patches. The smaller 6-inch coil is better for specimens and fine gold, and it's particularly useful in the creeks. Now, gold comes in a variety of shapes and sizes. There's gold nuggets that are just the gold themselves. There's quartz and gold specimens. There's ironstone and gold specimens. There's water-worn nuggets. There's jagged, edged reef gold. And all are unique, and almost all of them are valuable in many instances, worth more than pure refined gold. We found this 1884 gold sovereign with the elliptical coil near the town of Portland just recently. Well, here we are on the Turon goldfields, and I'm going to give you an example of us using the coils on the field. One of the first things we'll be using here is the 6-inch double D high frequency coil, and I'm looking for small gold in one of the nearly dried out creeks here, just on top of the bedrock.
And this is the sort of signal we're looking for.
Now that's a pretty good signal. In all metal mode I'm getting around 22 and 24 on the target. Now if you watch closely, you'll see that there's some very tiny nuggets in there. This gold has probably been washed into the crack in recent rains. Well, here I am with the elliptical double D, and we've got 3 good targets here. One is probably iron.
Okay, that's probably iron, so I'll hit all metal.
By switching on the iron mask, I can actually delete iron from my target range. We dug this one anyway, and it turned out to be an old nail. And the second target was a .22 caliber shell. But the final one, and you can see me adjusting my angle by 90 degrees here, you should do that. Different shape targets under the soil will give you a different reading from a different angle. And it's still in a very high conductive range. So we dug it, and there you go. That's a small nugget. Now, if you find that you're digging targets this big or this big, then you're probably only digging the louder signals, and gold is usually subtle if it's deeper. If you only dig the loud targets, then this is generally what you'll find. Now, the X-Terra 70 comes with a concentric coil. This coil is ideal for beaches, it's medium frequency, and it's waterproof. Now, the concentric coil is a good all-rounder. It's designed for beach and park use, and this is the sort of coil you want to be using for coins and relics. Well, we hope you enjoyed our short film on the X-Terra 70. It's one of the best multi-purpose detectors out there in the VLF range, and hopefully we'll see you out in the goldfield sometime. Cheers!